Welcome to Affluence and Advocacy, NY Real Estate Law.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Affluence and Advocacy, New York Real Estate Law with Natalia. I'm Matt Sky. Natalia is an experienced New York City attorney with a focus on real estate, business law, estate planning, and taxation. She is highly recognized for creating individualized legal solutions for her high net worth clients worldwide. Natalia, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Matt, for having me today.
So given your extensive experience working with clients from diverse international backgrounds, how do you approach addressing the unique legal needs and cultural considerations of clients from all around the world?
So it's truly fascinating for me to represent clients from all over the world. I've been working with clients from different countries like Bulgaria, Russia, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Arabic Emirates, also Saudi Arabia, and other countries. So I think it would be more descriptive if I give an example working with an Indian client who actually moved from India and resided in United States and who had assets in both jurisdictions, in India as well as in United States. And his transaction included a lot of complexities, especially when we started working on his asset protection. So my firm had to collaborate with a colleague from India who was working on the estate planning part of Indian assets protection, and I was working on the US part of asset protection for the client. So working in that collaboration, we were able to develop a very good asset protection plan for our client.
You work with a lot of high-profile clients. You have some celebrities among them. How do you ensure clients receive personalized and effective solutions?
Just like in general, celebrities are normal people, right? They are the same as normal individuals, but the main difference working with celebrities probably comes when we deal with privacy. And just working with one well-known celebrity from Australia comes to my mind now that I represented recently on a purchase of a condo in New York City, where my firm had to deal with multiple NDAs. We also had to arrange calls with clients' financial advisor via Zoom. There was, I believe, 10 hours time difference, so we had to accommodate the timing. And also working on the asset protection part for the client, structuring the whole purchasing into entity that is owned by another entity. We had to take in consideration citizenship of our client. For that particular client, we also collaborated with other professionals like our client's immigration attorney who was working on her status in United States. So all of this was a teamwork among different professionals, and I think this would be the best example of personalized solutions for our client, like for that particular celebrity client.
So Natalia, what are the primary legal considerations foreign buyers should know when purchasing residential real estate in New York City, specifically co-ops and condos?
So usually when foreign buyers come to New York, they would like to purchase something. They are not familiar with the type of ownership we have here. So New York is very unique because it's not just housing and condo market. There is a large co-op market. And I would say, like, for example, Upper East Side consists of like 80% of co-ops. And it's totally different type of ownership. So what is a co-op? Co-op is not considered to be a real property in New York. It's considered to be a good. And when you purchase apartment in a co-op, you don't own real estate property, you own shares on the stock certificate. Co-op also gives you a proprietary lease that allows you to occupy the premises. Where purchasing condo, you get a title, you get a deed, and you get a title to the property. It is a real estate property and it's yours. There is no stock certificates there. So when it comes to foreign clients, a co-op concept it's very hard for them to digest this co-op concept in general. Like I recall assisting a family from Sweden who were initially interested in a co-op because of its pre-war charm, but they were very surprised by the board approval process, by the application process, the package that that particular co-op had. And also they were surprised by different restrictions that co-op imposes on the residents. For example, for that particular Sweden family, a co-op where they wanted to buy wouldn't allow their adult kids to come to the apartment and stay in the apartment while parents were not there. So knowing all of this, we shifted our focus to condos and explaining the benefits and fewer restriction and easier resale application to the client. Also, for most of the foreign clients prefer to buy in a new development because new development offers beautiful architectural design. It's a brand new apartment with modern appliances and minimum wear and tear, especially for those foreign clients who don't reside here. They reside in their countries. They don't really want to deal with any wear and tear. They don't want to deal with maintenance. So they prefer new development purchases.
So I know we touched on this a little bit, but can we discuss the main differences in purchasing processes for foreign buyers between co-ops and condos in New York?
Yes, absolutely, Matt. So with condos, foreign buyers have more flexibility. It is less invasive. It is more straightforward board approvals. And actually, there is no board there. What happens is there is an application. It's called purchase application that is filled by the buyer, partially by the seller of the co-op. And then it goes to the management. They check the package and pass it to the condo board. Then upon review, board issues a waiver of right of first refusal. And this is a time, once we get a waiver of right of first refusal in New York, this is a time we can normally schedule the closing. So I would say when somebody wants to buy in a condo, it is like 99.9% guaranteed purchase. There is slight chance of condo board not issuing the waiver of right of first refusal. So in last 10 years, I actually didn't have a transaction where condo board would not issue a waiver and we wouldn't be able to close. But I heard from a colleague of mine, somebody just recently had a case. It was a condo by the Central Park where the board decided not to issue the waiver of right of first refusal, and the board decided to purchase that particular unit themselves. So it also happens, but I would say it happens like really, really rarely.
So Natalia, what unique challenges do foreign buyers face when investing in commercial real estate in New York City? And how do you help them overcome these obstacles?
Okay, so I think the main challenges here when it comes to investing in commercial real estate is, of course, not understanding the laws of New York. And when it comes to the leasing or when it comes to rent stabilized, understanding the rent stabilized laws, various zoning regulations, and of course the financing process. So recently, actually just last week, I had a closing for the client from France who purchased a multifamily building in New York on the Upper West Side and also had financing as part of the process. So what we did, we conducted thorough due diligence, ensuring compliance, including filing the beneficial ownership for his LLC and conducting all the assignments for the current leases in the building, leases with current tenants. So additionally, we facilitated the client with providing guidance on how he can show the proof of funds because he was a foreign national. And of course, seller, during the stage when my client submitted an offer, seller wanted to see the proof of funds, right? And my client at that time didn't have a bank account in the United States. So we guided the client through the idea of providing with a bank credit letter, at least until the time funds would reach United States for the closing.
So how do New York City's real estate laws differ for foreign buyers compared to domestic buyers?
Foreign buyers have certain withholdings, especially at closing, that different from domestic clients, domestic sellers. So now we are talking about foreign sellers here. And foreign sellers, as well as actually buyers, have to be aware of the Foreign Investment in Real Estate Property Tax Act, also known as FIRPTA. So what is the actual problem with FIRPTA? For example, once I worked with a Canadian investor purchasing a luxury condo hotel in New York. And on the other side, the seller in our transaction was also a foreigner. So my client was a Canadian investor. The seller was a UK resident. He was a UK investor. So FIRPTA requires 15% of the sale price withholding at closing to be sent to IRS within 20 days. And buyer in this case is usually withholding agent. So my client was responsible for these funds to reach IRS. And of course, it's not just my client, it's me as client's attorney was responsible for sending those funds to IRS. So here, where we come as a firm, guiding our clients through the process, explaining the risks associated with FIRPTA, also planning ahead of time. So the difference of our firm from other firms is when somebody comes to me for real estate transaction, I don't just act as a real estate attorney or with my tax knowledge. I look at the whole picture for my client. I look at the asset protection planning, and I looked ahead of time, for example, at my client's sales situation 10 years later. We plan it in the way that at the time, like 10 years later, when my client, the same, for example, Canadian national, decides to sell his condo in New York, he doesn't have to worry about this FIRPTA withholding because originally we structured his transaction in the way, we structured his purchase in the way that he doesn't have to pay FIRPTA withholding when he sells. So that's just one of the examples what foreign clients have to watch for.
How do you advise foreign buyers on the potential liabilities they face when selling their residential properties in New York City?
So again, we were talking about the Canadian buyer, right? We represent a lot of foreign sellers, and we are back to the same FIRPTA, right? And the withholding requirements. Actually, here, dealing with FIRPTA and the seller, I remember a client who was an Indian national, but he was actually about to get his green card and he was paying taxes in US. And I didn't start his representation from the beginning. He actually called me. It was a client from Google. He called me. He had another attorney. And he called me because his deal was in jeopardy. It was about to fall apart. And he wanted to hire another attorney to save the deal. So it wasn't in New York City. His sale was upstate New York. He was represented by one of the attorneys who is not familiar with FIRPTA, never dealt with any foreign clients before. Surprisingly, the buyer's attorney on his deal didn't have idea about FIRPTA either and was advising the buyer to get out of the deal because it seemed to be very complicated and too many risks on the buyer there. So a client reached me out. He explained the whole situation. We conducted thorough research. We came to the conclusion no FIRPTA was required. No withholding was required because the purchase price was under $300,000. It was a purchase for buyer's primary residence. And plus, in addition to everything, my client satisfied the primary residence test. So when we deal with someone who is a foreigner, for the purpose of the taxation, it doesn't matter that person doesn't have citizenship status or green card. IRS may look at different factors, like, for example, how many days a person resides in the United States, if a person has been paying taxes in the United States. We helped the client. He was very happy with the services.
So what are the common misconceptions foreign buyers have about the New York State real estate market? How do you address these in your practice?
So many clients actually believe that purchasing real estate in New York is similar to the process of purchasing real estate in their home country, but it's not necessarily the case. Like, we had a client from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, who assumed that he didn't have to pay any taxes in New York on his real estate property. Again, we didn't represent that client when he purchased real estate. He contacted us when he already had a problem. And by the time this client came to us, he already had over 100,000 in arrears. He had a tax lien and the foreclosure notice. And what we did, we facilitated the payment of arrears first, discharged the tax lien, and stopped the foreclosure procedure. For example, if we had this client from the beginning, we would have guided him or her step by step on all the tax and other, liabilities related to owning a real estate in New York. So educating clients about these differences is really crucial to a smooth transaction.
So as we wrap up, how does your multilingual ability enhance your effectiveness in assisting foreign buyers with real estate transactions in New York City?
That's a very good question, Matt. A language can be actually a significant barrier, especially for those foreign clients, investors who don't speak English. I'm talking about those countries where English is not a primary language. Like, once I worked with a Russian-speaking client who felt more comfortable discussing legal terms in her native language. And another example can be our firm's associate, Beatrice Racanella, recently worked with a Spanish-speaking client from Barcelona on the issue related to refund of FIRPTA withholding. And I saw that Spanish client felt really comfortable discussing the issues in his native language. I think speaking clients' mother tongue language not only build the trust, but also ensure that they fully understand every aspect of transaction, be it, real estate purchase or other legal representation related to tax issue.
So Natalia, people who are curious to learn more about you and your practice, they're considering real estate in New York, where should they go?
They can come to us. We always welcome, inquiries, calls. We are happy to guide you through the process of purchase, sale of real estate, as well as we can look together at your asset protection plan for New York investment.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to Affluence and Advocacy. For more information or to connect with Natalia Shishodia, visit shishodia.com. Natalia, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Matt.